After what seemed like a couple of moments, everything around him appeared to be changing again, like it had in the restaurant. Various colors were coming into focus, and slowly, Han was standing in a grassy field under a clear blue sky. Looking around, he couldn't see anything aside from the immediate area. Wishing he had a map, Han brought up the menu to see if he could figure out where he was at. After bringing up the interface, he noticed a new option, Map. Thinking that this was very convenient, considering how he had just wished that he had a map to view, he selected it. The map that came up looked like something out of a video game. It showed all the continents and various countries, though some of them were called kingdoms or empires. Seeing a blinking red dot, he assumed that this was him. Han seemed to be inside the Helios Kingdom. Focusing on the Helios Kingdom made the map zoom in so it fit the screen. There were various villages, towns, and cities scattered throughout the area, with what looked like the capital city, which was ways away near the center. The dot indicated that he was near the edge of the kingdom, somewhat close to a village. Part of him wanted to head over there, but considering the amount of walking he would need to do, he decided to look at the menu some more. Now that he is confirmed that this isn't all just a hallucination, Han decided to check what other abilities there were. The system seemed to be adaptive to his wants and needs, so he thought what else he could do. Bringing up the menu, again he selected Create and saw several options appear. There were a lot of different options he could choose from, one of them being Shelter. This brought up various structures he could create. Seeing Stronghold as being one of them, he tapped on it. Various strongholds seemed to appear on the screen. Considering how he wanted someplace where he could feel safe, he looked at the selection and thought about one that was impenetrable. He wanted something that would never let armies be able to invade it, regardless of ability. Slowly, a bunch of images disappeared to be replaced by a handful of selections. Comparing each of the examples, he decided to choose one that looked like a giant vertical rectangular block. If you took a skyscraper and removed the windows and covered it in concrete, this is what it would look like. Based on its requirement, this didn't look like something that could be invaded since it didn't have any openings. Judging that there must be some way for him to enter, he walked towards the building. As he reached the structure, Han imagined an entrance for him to enter. On the face nearest to him, an impressive-looking staircase and doorway appeared. This is pretty nice, he thought to himself. Walking up the stairway and entering the structure, Han saw a corridor appear with marble columns on either side spanning the entire way. There were fancy-looking globes that lit up the whole passage. Looking down, Han saw that the floor was completely smooth, like polished marble with gray veins throughout the level. There didn't appear to be any spacing, like the entire floor was created from one giant slab. The walls and ceiling looked to be obsidian, and contrasted perfectly with the marble and columns. Thinking about it, Han wondered if he needed to bring up the menu if he wanted to change anything. When he approached the building and thought about an entrance, the building modified itself to his thoughts, so he wondered if it wouldn't be far-fetched to try changing parts of this structure. Looking at the globes, Han thought about hanging golden bowls filled with fire. The orbs then shifted to his thoughts, making the corridor look imposing. Walking down the hall, he wondered what else he could change in the structure. At the end of the hallway was another staircase that rose up and split to either side, probably leading to the next floor. Reaching the second floor, Han saw that there were various supporting columns throughout the place. Aside from the columns, there wasn't much else and looked rather dull. Each of the supports had a similar golden bowl on each face of the column. Feeling like it seemed rather empty with just him, he wondered if he could create something to help him. Just to test his ability, he imagined a hand floating in front of him. It would be as smooth and white as porcelain, with long, slender fingers. He pictured that they would belong to a beautiful woman. As his mind imagined the hand, he saw an actual hand starting to take shape. Just like he pictured it, the isolated extremity looked stunning, like those belonging to hand models on commercials, but several times better. Han looked at the hovering hand and thought about it being alive. Slowly, it started to twitch and began to move its fingers, like floating jazz hands, and proceeded to making a fist. Seeing that he was successful, Han thought about how it had a decent amount of intelligence, and after waiting for a couple of minutes, he said, "Shake my hand." The hand floated to his outstretched hand and he shook it. Han was surprised by how realistic it felt, especially how he could imagine that it belonged to a woman. There was a clear difference between how a guy's and a woman's hand felt, and this one definitely felt like it came from a woman's. Releasing his grip, the extremity went back to floating in front of him. Imagining it being erased, he swiped his hand and made it disappear from existence. After testing out that he could give life to his creations and seeing how difficult it was, Han decided to try creating someone to help him out. In his mind, Han pictured a beautiful woman around 5'6", a little shorter than him, with flowing, slightly wavy brown hair and an oval face with a dazzling look. Her body would be considered voluptuous, having gorgeous breasts and butt, with a somewhat shorter torso and long legs. If someone from Earth saw her, they would probably think she was a high-class adult film actress. As her body began to appear in front of him, Han was definitely impressed with his imagination and glad he looked at plenty of adult content. Who would have thought that watching adult content and hentai would help him create a woman from nothing? With the woman standing in front of him, Han began to give her a very high intelligence and made sure that she would be completely devoted and loyal to him. Learning from his prior mistakes with women, he was definitely not going to mess up with this one. Han pulled up her stats on the menu so he could tinker with it. After changing some things around, he finally completed her profile. There were probably other things he had forgotten, but he figured that he would be able to change it with his broken, overpowered system he had. Closing the interface, he willed for her to awaken and watched as her eyelids lifted and showed a deep purple iris. He realized that he was holding his breath, seeing how amazingly beautiful she was. From now on, Helania, you will serve me and fulfill all that I will need you to complete. I have created you to be everything I don't have the time to take care of. As time goes on, you will develop a personality that will help me to complete all that I wish on this or any other worlds. He addressed his hopes to Helania. Helania looked at him, and after listening to his wishes, she dropped to one knee and exclaimed, "My creator, your wishes are mine only purpose, and I will complete them without fail."